Come in.
Hi, my name's Chloe. I'm here for the interview about your career path.
Yeah, comes Joe. Come on in and have a seat.
Does your work relate to any experiences or studies you had in college?
Yes, actually, I took undergraduate degree was in recreational facility management, and then I got my master's here at Ohio University in Master's of Business Administration. Got my MBA here.
Okay, and how well did your college experience prepare you for the job?
Oh, very much so. I was very fortunate, and I had some folks that actually are leaders in recreation, people that have written the safety manuals for different types of recreation, from playground safety to pools, and they were very big in that field. And they gave me opportunities to not only participate in their class but actually teach it with them in their classes, which was a great experience.
Okay, and do you know any courses that proved to be the most valuable for you in your work?
The course that I took to get certifications would probably be one of the more valuable ones. Other courses that I took involved with programming, talking about the history of programming and recreation, talking about the history of recreation and in terms of um, national budgetary times when the recession was. We had people actually spent more money on recreation than before because they were looking for escape and other things. There's lots of background knowledge that we had, so that really did help our
Okay,
overall education.
and if you were a college student again, what would you do differently to prepare for the job?
What did I do differently? Um, I don't know. I think I would have looked for more, even though I worked all the way through college in recreation and aquatics in different fields. I probably would have looked to diversify a little bit my knowledge base. Try to work more with some of the programming and the daycares that we've had, and some of the places I worked with, some of the other facilities and gyms and fitness areas. I kind of focused, probably was a little overly focused on the swimming side.
Okay, and how do you feel is the best education preparation for this career? Do you think it is going to college or maybe
I
coming
think
out of high school?
I think coming out of high school, I think going. I actually didn't go directly to college. I actually owned my own sub shop for about a year, just under a year, out in Illinois. Um, I think that was a great preparation for the entrepreneurial aspects and learning on the job of things that I want to do. So when I went to college, things made a little bit more sense on getting into business and what life was really like.
Okay. And how did you prepare for this type of job and
This
work?
job here,
Yeah.
um, my goal going into college was to be an architect, actually. Um, but once I went through a decision making process and looked at what people would do and what I really love to do, I started looking at this more specifically. And probably about my sophomore year, end of my sophomore year, I really wanted to run a Division I aquatics program. Um, so I'm kind of here, and everything I did was kind of geared towards that and talking with people who are in that field, going to conferences, um, just trying to do as much as I could with the folks that worked in the field.
Okay. Um, and so, we talked about some of the college things that lead up to this career. So now, the actual career, what is your exact title here?
I'm the aquatics director for Ohio University.
Okay. And what precisely do you do? Like, what are the duties, responsibilities, functions of your job?
Currently, I oversee the aquatic center. It's in all its functions. It's labeled as a $12 million facility. I take care of the physical pump room downstairs, the chemicals, as well as oversee the programming, student staffing, um, and then there's a retail shop up front, as well as the operation of working with academics and athletics and trying to find ways to make sure that everybody's getting what they need and finding a way to, for lack of a better word, play nice in the facility.
Okay. And like, what is your job like? Um, what is the typical day that you go through?
I think that's one of the things that I like about this job, and it's probably the most frustrating as well, is there really isn't a typical day. The day kind of comes, every day is a little bit different, but because you're really on call almost 24/7 with the students the way this job is currently set up. So you do a little bit here, a little bit there, and you're just constantly ready, I guess. Um, I do a lot of things with budgetary numbers, trying to make sure the facility is generating the revenue we need to do, and how we spend the money in here. Trying to make that final call, trying to budget for the future, trying to figure out what programs to develop, and what programs to let go, um, as well as how to evaluate and do an assessment on the entire operation, so that I can adequately collect the data and report up the chain, as it were, on what we do, so that we can get extra assistance when needed. For example, right now we're going through some facility issues, and they want to know why and how that money may be spent. And that all the data that I've collected up to this point kind of points and gives me help forward.
Okay. And to what extent is the job what you expected when you first entered the career?
This job is designed a little bit differently than what I expected. My other facilities has the aquatics director and the, like, swim coaches and academic people kind of report to that person. Here it's more of a shared usage and shared. Although it's designed to be a shared budgetary experience, it has not been. So that's kind of the challenges right now. But we're moving more towards with the new university budgetary model. We are moving towards that, and it's working through some of the changes. So it's similar. Our design here at the university and our position isn't what other universities have. Most universities of this size, with this type of facility and this type of staff, have 4 to 6 full-time professionals running things in addition to the staff size and job duties that we have. Our facility just has me, so it's a little bit different and a little bit differently designed.
Okay. And how much job security do you have with this position?
I'm on an annual contract, year to year. I would like to think that I have more job security with it, just based on the knowledge of what I have of the facility. But in current times, everything's kind of up in the air on a day-to-day basis. So you just you do the best you can, and until someone tells you you can't work anymore.
So you already expressed that you don't have a typical day. So do you have any like normal work hours that you usually come in?
Yeah, I'm normally, for me it's usually starting off at home, probably about 6 o'clock. Starting to read through emails, starting to try to respond, trying to organize the day. Then it's for me with my family, is dropping the family off. Being a one-car family, I drop my family. My wife works as a teacher, so drop her off and kids off at school and daycare, and then I usually get in here quarter after 8:30. I generally work through my lunch with eating my lunch at my desk while I'm working, and then the end of the day can be anywhere from 4:30 to 8:30, depending on the day. Usually go home, dinner with the family, and take care of a few things. They get in bed about 9 o'clock, and then I usually end the day looking at emails and sorting things for the next day from between 9 and midnight, working on budgetary things and answering phone calls and text messages from students in the facility until it closes.
Okay, and so do you have to put much overtime work in, or like during holidays or anything like that?
Yeah, usually when I taking a day off is really never really a day off. Usually with text messages and phone calls and emails, you're usually responding to something. Joke for me and a lot of the maintenance folks here is if I try to go play golf, usually between the parking lot and first tee, something goes wrong with the facility, which is I'm thinking about the rest of the golf game. But I do like to try to get out and play golf. I try to get up and do some other things just for mental health and physical.
Okay. And you already said that you do bring work home with you, or you answer emails and stuff like that. What kinds of problems do you deal with?
Personnel issues, personnel relationships. I have dealt with everything from personnel issues in between each other about the job, as well as individuals who've had personal issues at home, with school. I feel like I do probably about 60% of my time is spent being a counselor. But then there's other issues like the pool, that pump gets clogged, something's not working downstairs, making sure, like right now under the current Bather Code, I can't clean and backwash the facility if somebody's in here. So I pick a good night, and about midnight I'll come in and work down in the basement for an hour or two, backwashing the facility, taking care of the chemicals at night, and then I'll go home, and then we do a normal day the next day. So it kind of varies. It's trying to figure out the tools of the job during the day, so that after hours it tries to be a little bit less, to be a little bit more healthy. But it is what it is.
And so, what do you do if you can't solve a problem on your own?
If I can't solve a problem on my own, it usually gets tabled. I run it up the chain. I run it up to my bosses, and I'll ask some questions. Facilities management, I usually try to get them involved, bounce some ideas off them. Some of the issues that they will fix here, most of the issues around the facility in relationship to the chemicals and water, I have a tendency to fix. One of the certifications I did get is in being an instructor for aquatic facility operator stuff, so I could train people as well as use that knowledge to run the place.
Okay. And so, would you say that you deal with a lot of conflict in this job?
I wouldn't say I deal with a lot of conflict. I could probably deal with my fair share as any job. Anytime you have people that act and think differently, you're going to have conflict because they see things differently. I think the perceptions of what way people deal with things is probably the hardest part.
Mm-hmm.
When I started out looking at the aquatics director at the college I grew up, university I went to, I thought he took lunch break from 10 to 2. But what I didn't realize is that he went running with the athletic director, and then he had a lunch meeting with those professors over there to talk about the uses of the pool, and everything he did was always working on the facility while he was trying to get something else done. So it was kind of a dual, the diving coach and the athletic director and the swim coaches and him all went running at 10 o'clock. Well, while they were running, they talked about the operation of the facility and things that they needed to work on and frustrations, and they got that out, and through that they actually had a better working relationship, which was interesting. So business meetings in this realm and recreation aren't always sitting at a table. It's okay, get out there and move around, and we're going for a walk. Or like when I work with Mo across the way there at Bird Arena, when we work through issues, we're generally walking to another meeting, and we talk about what are you facing, what am I facing, and we figure out how to help each other.
Okay. And can you describe any constraints such as time or funding that make your job more difficult?
Funding is always an issue. Trying to find revenue sources and be able to create revenue. I mean, you could charge people $1 million to walk into the facility, but nobody would come. So you have to find that balance, and you can't make it free either because it does cost. Lifeguards, chemicals, lights, water, all the overhead that's involved with this, paper, even to the computers and things that we use in the offices all cost something. And the money has to come from somewhere.
Okay.
And it's trying to find the best uses for the dollars that I do bring in to help try to make this facility as standalone as possible in the university environment.
And what kind of decisions do you make throughout the day?
What to purchase. Trying to figure out what tools that we're going to be using. Is it a tool that we're going to build, or is it a tool that we're going to buy online?
Okay.
We're talking about hiring and firing issues, which we've passed along to a student manager positions. But then in that process is, okay, we need to talk about how you do it, because you can't yell at somebody and tell them they're fired. It's working through that process.
And can you describe one of the toughest situations you faced throughout the job?
I think the toughest situation that I have in my present job is the location. I'm a member of a campus recreation, which is a little bit larger team of 12 to 15 professional staff, which I may or may not see during the week because I'm in a different building. The only folks I really see are my students and the student staff. I really don't get a whole lot of interaction with other professional staff other than email, or if I get out of my office and actually walk over to Ping and to drop documents off and make an appointment to go over there and speak with someone.
Okay. And to what extent do you interact with clients or customers?
A lot of it's via email, phone calls, even to the point of texting. seems to be growing. Um, we do a lot of some face-to-face, mostly when the facility maintenance comes in. They're talking to me, and we're taking them to what needs to be fixed and talking through the options. Some days are busier than others, but yeah, mostly I would say mostly it's email, face-to-face, and then phone call and texting, kind of in that order.
Okay. And what percentage of your time is spent on each of your job responsibilities?
I think a very large portion of my time is spent on what's coming up next, trying to figure out how to create the tool for the person coming into the job for the future, and trying to figure out it's really not on today's operation. I'm really kind of working on like spring semester and summer. The students are kind of working on today's, and I based on what the students interact with and the students' problems and issues with current programming and current staffing issues and current issues, I then take that and correlate it out to the future for summer. Like now it's end of fall. We're taking all the fall's data, and I'm looking at spring and summer and adjusting what I've already thought would be working, and trying to figure out where we're going to go even to next fall. So I've already started next fall schedule, so that we're planning ahead, and it's kind of a balance between working in the moment and trying to live in the future, planning.
Yeah. Okay. And how much flexibility do you have in determining how you perform your job?
I'd say I've been given a good amount. I've been very fortunate in the fact that I'm really the only one that has my certifications on campus. So that's kind of a job security, I guess, and gives me a great amount of flexibility. They give me a great amount of flexibility from my supervisors, which is very nice, to get the job done, do what it takes to get the job done. So yeah, I think I have a great amount of flexibility, and it's one of the perks of the job, I guess.
And do you work individually or predominantly with groups or teams?
Predominantly, I work by myself, and then when we do come in with groups, I try to get the students involved, my student staff involved in various levels. I can't work with all the student staff, but I try to work with select groups of the student staff, so that working with 93 different students in a given week, you wouldn't get anything else done. You say hi and goodbye, and then you move to the next student. By the time your day was really kind of over, moving along.
And what part of this job do you personally find most satisfying?
Working with students. That's one of the reasons why I got into the college. I like college atmosphere. I like the interaction with students. I like the thought process. Students make me laugh. Even though I'm turning gray, they keep the grays from away, and some of them growing, so it's kind of a delicate balance. But I think one of the most satisfying things is watching a student develop from somebody that we may have fired into somebody that actually loves aquatics and is actually working out in the field now. And then when they're out there 5-6 years, they're actually calling back and saying, "Hey, I got a question," and they're feeling comfortable enough to call and ask and talk to me, because it's not about the fact that whether they were let go or not. It was, hey, I know, I feel good that they trust me enough with the information that I know to help them, and at least help them find the answer. That's very, very rewarding.
Okay, and what would you say is most challenging about it?
I think that it's most challenging is the students that come in and they don't think, and you wonder, to be honest, you wonder where their parents were, in training some of the basic respect issues and some of the basic stuff. That's a kind of a challenge for me, and responsibility, and people that you give them opportunities to grow their skills, give them opportunities to in a learning environment to learn, and people just don't want to do it, and I find that frustrating. When you even go so far as, for example, one of the main things that's big frustration right now, the number of lifeguards is dropping off. People don't want to take the course, so we're offering an opportunity for people to take a course. If they get hired by us and they work over break and over summer, I can refund their entire money, all their money. Well, I've had many people tell me, I don't want to do that. And you're like, oh, there's a job there. I can give you a job. I can help you. I can, and many of those kids, especially in this area, with low income area that we live in, for underprivileged kids, getting them into a college environment, working next to a college student, they can see that, hey, I can go to college. I could do this, and encourage them to go to college, because a lot of them are discouraged from it, and that's a very difficult thing in my brain. It's very difficult to handle. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges to get through.
And what are your personal interests, and in what ways does this job satisfy those interests?
I love the water. I love moving water. I love to create things. I'm given great flexibility to create different things. From, I love building with PVC because the water tends to eat everything else up. So building things in PVC helps the process here, and makes things that last. I can be creative as I want to be, which is a great thing. I can go out and build. I can put on a t-shirt and shorts and go swim and do the scuba and vacuum the pool. I think that's that need to create and to work with and be around people. I think is a very good thing here.
Okay. And what do you like and not like about working here?
Obviously, I like the students. I like the freedom. I like the abilities that I've been given, that I can actually be challenged in my work and find some success in it. I think the hard parts about it is the time commitment involved. I knew there was a time commitment involved, and we worked through that. But I think the hard thing is you can't really ever turn it off. There really isn't an off button for the day. You just kind of, once the facility closes at midnight, not 11:30, midnight, whatever it is on a given day, about a half hour later you realize everybody's gone. No phone calls are going to be made. I can go to sleep, and then you wake up at 6 going, okay, I'm ready for the next phone call. That's kind of a tough thing on the brain.
And are there aspects of this job that are repetitious?
Yeah, budgetary reports, typing emails, that kind of thing. Yeah.
And is multitasking a skill that is required for this job?
Yeah, even while I'm doing this interview, I'm thinking about the next things that are coming up, and thinking about the budgetary things that I'm working on, and thinking about, as you ask questions and reflecting on what I like to do, I'm starting to remember different things I got to put on my to-do list. So yeah, I think there's a avenue of that as well.
And what projects have you worked on that have been really interesting lately?
I like Excel, so I like the budgetary. I like getting into numbers and putting them in there and making them work. I like that part, but I also like getting in. I'm working on the signage process for Learn to Swim. Right now we have some cones, some hard plastic cones that we're working on a better signage system, so the kids know where the lessons are. They know who the teacher is, so if a parent looks over their child's lesson, there should be a sign next to it saying what level it is and the instructor's name, so that when they fill out an evaluation on that instructor, that makes that process easier. So it's never just one project. There's usually a project involved with making everything else better, making something else better. There's 2 or 3 things that it's going to fix.
Okay. And how did you learn the skills that are required for this job?
I was given the opportunity, and I just kind of ran with it. A lot of things I had were self-taught. I like the Excel. I just started ripping into it, and then I took my MBA courses, and I got into it a little bit more with that. For the skills in the pool, I've been in and around the water since I've been 6 months old. So it was just kind of a process. Now what? What's next? What's next? What's next? And constantly asking, is there anything else I can do? As I was growing up and getting into my jobs, they said, yeah, you can go clean out the basement. And then I said, well, what does this do? And they tell me what it is, and it kind of stuck, and then it just kind of grows from there.
And what are the educational requirements for the job?
For this job here, American Red Cross certifications, lifeguarding, lifeguard instructor, CPR first aid, having a certified pool operator certificate or an aquatic facility operator certificate, a bachelor's degree, master's is preferred, bachelor's degree in recreation field is preferred, although they would take other bachelor's degrees as well. In this current one, other jobs were more specific to recreation degree.
Okay. And what social obligations go along with the job?
Social obligations.
Like, are you expected to join any organizations?
Yeah, I'm actually a member of Association of Aquatics Professionals. I also part of NRPA, which is National Recreation Parks Association. I'm working on a certification through them. It's a certified recreational professional position, and then also the state recreation association. So being involved in those helps not only information that comes around what other people are working with, but I have the opportunity then to go speak at a local and national level as well.
Okay. And has your job affected your lifestyle at all?
I think so. You kind of have to be on the run a little bit. Having kids, you started to see how much you were really working on the run. A lot of things have been transferred from my computer to my iPhone so that I can work in the small bits of time where I'm waiting for something. My wife runs into the store and we're sitting in the car waiting. I can pull up my iPhone and I can check files. I can do different work on documents that I've been working on. So it's kind of I think it's affected the lifestyle a little bit, so you work on the run.
Okay. And if you could change anything about your job, what would it be and why?
Change anything? Well, you always want the pay to change, but that's kind of a black hole. No matter how much money you make, you'll never make enough. So, yeah, you always would like to make a little bit more. I think the interaction with the professional staff would be another one. More opportunities for professional development. To go to conferences and things like that are probably one of the things I would change first.
Okay. And I think that's pretty much all the questions I have. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, it's always nice sitting down and reflecting back, because it can put you back on track with what you were thinking, because you sometimes forget where you came from and all those different things. So thanks.
All right. Thank you.